Before the crew can bring anything on deck, the ocean first defines the scale of the work.
The first warning is not a clear view of the animal, but a vibration traveling through steel. Something heavy and flexible is moving far below.
The force below now reaches human hands through cable, metal, and deck vibration. These American male industrial fishermen do not treat the moment as spectacle.
Before the giant Pacific octopus is visible, the instruments begin to tell the story. The readings do not exaggerate.
Beneath the surface, the source of the pressure finally takes shape. The giant Pacific octopus is still only partly...
To understand the encounter, the story begins back at the harbor. This vessel is large enough for... The size of the vessel defines the scale of the operation. A giant Pacific octopus will later become the focus. The deck already shows the structure of the coming work. Every cable path, roller, and lifting point has a purpose.
Before any line is lowered, the crew prepares itself. These American male industrial fishermen understand that offshore...
Preparation is also communication. The crew checks radios and hand signals now, because later, when the line...
The winch is one of the tools that turns hidden force into controlled movement. In deep-sea handling, machinery must lift slowly.
Each piece of gear has to be ready before the ocean tests it. The lines, clamps, and markers may look ordinary on deck. The industrial rod system gives the crew another way to manage angle and pressure. It is not recreational gear.
Measurement and lifting systems are checked before the vessel is fully committed offshore. The bait and markers are prepared with practical care, not theatrical excess. Every detail must serve the sequence.
Patching the setup is a quiet step, but it carries the entire next phase. If the rigging is careless here, the underwater scene later becomes unsafe.
By this point, the working deck has been staged for a sequence that must flow without confusion. The bait, the lines...
The vessel leaves the harbor, and the controlled space of land falls behind. From here, the operation...
As the harbor disappears, the vessel becomes the only working platform in view. The scale is clear now. This is heavy offshore work.
Offshore routine always returns to safety before action. The crew reviews spacing, signals, and movement, because later, when the line is close...
The final calibration closes the preparation phase. With the gauges set and the line system checked, the crew is...
Below the surface, the story enters a different world. There is no deck, no human body.
The deeper view slows the pace of the film. In this water, even small changes become meaningful.
A giant Pacific octopus does not need fantasy behavior to create tension. Its natural camouflage and control are enough.
The underwater environment stays simple and honest. There are no divers, no small boats, and no invented creatures.
The setup finally enters the underwater frame and links the unseen crew above to the depth below. Its descent is steady.
The setup settles deeper into the water column, carrying the intention of the crew into a place they cannot see directly.
The setup now becomes part of the underwater scene. It hangs near the rocks, neither dramatic nor still, and that's sufficient. The first sign is indirect. Smaller fish break away before the octopus is clearly seen, and their reaction tells the viewer. The shape becomes clearer now, but it remains measured and natural. The giant Pacific octopus does not appear as a kraken.
Only part of the animal fills the frame, but the species is locked clearly in the image. The mantle, eye, and flexment.
The octopus passes without a full reveal, and that restraint keeps the encounter grounded. The camera does not need to indulge. The encounter becomes more intimate as the octopus turns near the camera. Seen this close, the giant Pacific octopus, the octopus stays close enough now that every movement changes the feeling of the scene. It studies the setup through touch and position rather than speed.
The octopus is now established in the scene with unmistakable identity. The giant Pacific octopus carries its body.
The details of the animal fill the foreground, but the behavior remains believable. This is the final calm before stronger. The octopus begins to circle, and the encounter becomes active. Its movement is direct but physically plausible, building. One pass becomes another, and the circle tightens. The setup is no longer just hanging near the rocks. It is. The octopus closes the distance with slow intention. Nothing about the moment needs to be exaggerated, because the water around the setup changes as the octopus moves through it. The first real reaction is subtle, but
the line now begins to answer the animal. What was only visible motion in deep water becomes a signal traveling upward.
As the octopus turns, tension becomes more readable. The giant Pacific octopus is still moving naturally.
The angle of the line changes, and that change points the story upward. The octopus has begun to turn the encounter into...
The octopus changes depth, and the water grows more disturbed. The motion is still below the surface. The underwater phase closes, with the octopus still below, but rising through the system. The line now points toward the surface.
The first surface sign is not the full animal, but the water rising beside the hull. What began as hidden movement below, foam builds along the line before the giant Pacific octopus is clearly seen. The crew reads this surface change as a message from below.
The equipment confirms what the water suggests. The pressure has changed, the octopus is...
As the readings climb, the crew takes control of the next stage. Their goal is not to overpower the giant Pacific octopus. The ocean adds its own force to the operation. The crew has to manage the animal, the weather, the vessel movement, and the cable all at once.
A new cable angle tells the crew that the animal has turned again. The giant Pacific octopus remains most... At last, part of the animal breaks the visual barrier. Only a section of the giant Pacific...
With the octopus close enough to affect the surface, the vessel shifts into controlled handling mode. Crane gear.
The main handling phase begins with controlled tension rather than speed. The line is alive with force, and the crew understands.
The winch does not rush the movement. It builds pressure one controlled turn at a time, allowing the crew to work with the octopus's motion.
Human timing now has to match mechanical force. The crew watches the cable, reads each other's positions, and keeps the working area clear.
Water running from the line shows that the controlled rise is progressing. The hidden distance between the vessel and the giant Pacific octopus is shrinking.
The octopus remains under the surface, but its shape is now close enough to influence the water above it.
The octopus is close enough now that every small change matters. The crew responds in real time, using signals.
The pressure rises toward the first major reveal. The giant Pacific octopus is close to the surface now, and everything...
The first full-body reveal finally shows the animal completely. For a brief second, the giant Pacific octopus and...
After that reveal, the crew immediately brings the rhythm back down. The goal is not to force another dramatic moment, but to...
The octopus drops just below the visible layer again, but it no longer feels distant. Its mantle and curling arms stay close to the hull side.
The crew now shifts from reaction to sustained control. Their posture shows that the encounter is not handled by sudden strength.
The operation returns to measured mechanical force. Each turn of the winch gains only a little ground, but those small...
Water now records the resistance more clearly than the animal itself. The crew cannot see every movement below, but
the octopus rises again, but only in fragments. That partial view reminds the crew that the giant Pacific octopus...
Every adjustment now is small but important. The crew is no longer searching for the animal. They are guiding a known force.
The path of the cable matters as much as the pull itself. By keeping the line properly aligned, the crew protects... The octopus now travels close enough to the vessel that its presence is almost continuous through the water.
With the movement stabilized, another layer of control is introduced. The industrial rod helps manage angle and...
The rod does not replace the heavy cable. It refines the crew's control over it. At this stage, the team is shaping...
While the octopus remains in the water, the deck prepares for the next transition. Crane gear and padded support are staged early.
Several systems now overlap in one coordinated frame. Cable, rod, crane, cratted support, and
The octopus draws even closer now, close enough that the crew can anticipate the next surface movement. The setup on deck is nearly zeroed. The second full-body reveal comes later in the encounter and gives the sequence its final surge. For one more moment, after the second reveal, the crew immediately returns to procedure. The dramatic moment is over, but the difficult work continues. The octopus is now in the zone where multiple systems act together. The cable holds pressure, the rod refines.
The crew now watches every small change at the surface. They are no longer only guiding a line, they are positioning.
The body of the octopus tracks along the vessel more clearly now. That closeness helps the crew plan the handles. The crane moves into the frame as the operation prepares for the handoff. Its position is critical, because once the octopus...
Close-range handling begins before the octopus touches any support. Secondary lines, clear deck zone.
the octopus is now close enough that the encounter changes character completely. It is no longer a...
By now, every part of the system is engaged. The crew, cable, rod, crane, and support sling are all...
The encounter reaches the threshold. The vessel is no longer only guiding from distance. It is... But even before the octopus reaches the support zone, the deck has to be ready. Clear paths, controlled lifting points.
The surface phase is complete, but the work is not finished. The octopus is now ready for a short, controlled handling.
At the deck edge, the sequence begins again in a tighter space. The cable still carries force, but now
The crane becomes central to the handling phase. Its job is not only to lift, but to stabilize the support system.
The octopus is finally close enough for documentation, but it is not settled. The giant Pacific octopus still carries force in its mantle and arms.
Even in the support phase, the rod system still has a role. It helps shape angle and strain, keeping the brief handling sequence edited. Small technical corrections continue after the octopus reaches the vessel. Repositioning the cable keeps the support aligned. Rippers. Communication becomes even more visible in the close handling phase. Hand signals now connect human judgment to creatures. The octopus answers the transition with another strong movement. The motion is powerful but realistic, and the crew treats it as...
While the octopus is still being stabilized, documentation already begins. The animal is not treated as a mythical trophy.
The movement settles into a steadier rhythm. With the strongest bursts passing, the crew can use the cable to refine the octopus.
The crane takes up support in gradual steps, not one dramatic pull. Each measured movement reduces risk.
The rod still carries meaningful strain, showing that the sequence is not finished yet. The crew continues to treat every connection.
Even during a strong movement, the crew does not rush in. Their spacing shows experience, because safety means the...
Once the movement allows it, the crew adds a secondary support point. That extra line turns partial control into dependable control. The transition crosses its most visible threshold here. With crane support, the giant Pacific octopus moves.
When the octopus settles briefly into support, the moment is both physical and procedural. Contact with the support system does not mean the work is over.
Reduced tension is an important sign of progress. It tells the crew that the operation is moving for...
Stabilizing the octopus reduces risk and gives the crew a workable window. The crane's steady hold allows the American...
The first measurement begins carefully and without exaggerated claims. Documentation matters here.
Repositioning the support is its own operation. The auxiliary line helps adjust the angle in a controlled way, proving that even a...
The transfer remains a conversation between people and machinery. Hand signals guide small corrections, and those corrections...
The octopus is lower and calmer now, and water running off its body marks a clear change in the sequence.
One active control system begins to stand down. Lowering rod tension safely is part of closing the most demanding hand. Clearing cable from the reduces clutter and risk. It may look like a simple cleanup step, but it is.
One final crane adjustment improves the octopus's support position. The crew still treats precision as necessary.
Even late in the process, the octopus can still produce a final burst of movement. The crew.
With the octopus calmer, the crew adds another secure hold while keeping their bodies clear of the danger zone.
Recording the encounter is part of completing the sequence responsibly. The work now moves from physical control toward traceable data. With documentation underway, the crew prepares the octopus for the shortest practical handling window.
A closer view replaces the earlier surface spectacle. In these details, the Giant Pacific Octopus is seen.
Another tool leaves the active sequence as the operation simplifies. Removing the rod from the system signals that the high control handling phase is nearly over.
The direction of movement changes now from close support toward controlled storage. This transition shows that the controlled storage becomes the next destination. The crane supports the animal not as a mythical prize, but as the octopus moves through the final handling steps, the deck itself is kept orderly. Hygiene, clear foot. The rod returns to a resting position, signaling the end of its role in the encounter. Step by step,
the octopus is now in a more stable position than it was during the surface transition. Supported briefly by the crane and padded.
The octopus can now be seen in detail without the drama of the earlier surface reveal. This close view shifts the Another verification step follows, but the film stays factual. The point is not to invent a number, but to show the deep-sea handling.
The last support cable begins to come free, and the most demanding part of the close handling sequence truly ends.
The encounter now leaves the close support zone and enters preservation. This step may be quieter than the surface reveal. The crew holds the final safety perimeter until all movement is truly controlled.
Once ashore, the encounter enters a new stage of evaluation. What was documented offshore is now reviewed in a commercial.
The language of the deck gives way to the language of the market. Here, attention shifts from cable and crane.
The commercial phase completes the link between offshore labor and distribution. By this point, the octopus has.
After auction, preservation becomes the priority. The catch moves into packaging designed to maintain temperature and protect quality.
Logistics now replaces deck work, but the discipline remains the same. Temperature, timing, and handling.
Corners. The catch is now protected inside a controlled environment. This stage may appear less dramatic than the surface reveal. The cold chain extends outward into transport infrastructure. A refrigerated container becomes the next.
By now, the octopus is fully part of an organized commercial route. The journey from deep water to documented
inlets. The chain continues when the shipment reaches the restaurant. Here, the catch leaves logistics and enters another skilled
Arrival does not end the process of care. The receiving team checks condition and temperature because respect for the product depends on.
With the container open, the octopus is revealed in its next working setting.
The handoff into the preparation space completes the receiving phase. From here, the story becomes one of.
In the kitchen, the final stage begins with technique rather than force. The same respect for process seen offshore.
The catch is transformed through precision and restraint. Each movement in the kitchen reflects the long journey before it.
By this stage, the octopus has passed through ocean observation, machinery, documentation, cold chain. What began as hidden movement beneath the sea ends here in a form shaped by patience, coordination, and respect.